Dr. Budnitz, I attended the SHAC workshop as well. I try to attend as many of those as they'll actually admit me to.
And you were there longer than I was on that one because we were only there briefly.
I was indeed. But Mike...
I'm not sure who's speaking.
I'm sorry. John Geesman on behalf of the Alliance for Nuclear Responsibility. My question is one that I think bridges across the several SHAC workshops that have been held, and you're in a unique position, I think, to be able to cast some light on it. PG&E has a tornado plot ranking the significance of different sources of seismic activity.
And also, and their uncertainty. Go ahead.
And their uncertainty. And they rank those based upon what they describe as their impact on hazard.
Yeah.
And that hazard impact is determined by, I believe, a model that PG&E has.
Yeah, yeah.
I've gone through the two SHAC or NRC documents, the Old Testament, which you co-authored, and the New Testament from a couple of years ago that Dr. Kammerer co-authored.
Just for the record, that's New Reg CR 6847, and then the new one is New Reg 2117. Go ahead.
I can't see any provision in either document as to how that hazard model gets reviewed.
That's correct. That's correct.
And why is that?
We didn't, at the time that the first one was written, think of that approach, and that was still true even 3 years ago, when they came up with this novel way of displaying this that would help to focus people's attention on things that were more important or less important. So that's a new methodological wrinkle which was hadn't been thought of or used before. Okay.
Not subjected to external peer review?
Well, it's being peer reviewed now by, they have a peer review team there, and then there's going to be another review of it after. But it's not central to the, how do I say? It's not central to the overall study or its results, because they put together what I'll call an interim or preliminary model of the situation, which they're now iterating, and will come up with a final model based on what they've learned during these workshops and during other analyses that they've done. And that so-called tornado diagram and the content behind it was a way of sorting out which of the issues required really extremely important attention and which didn't matter very much, and some of them don't. Okay? And so that was sort of a clever way for them to assure themselves that those issues that were of greatest sensitivity or importance got absolutely the greatest attention. Not that the others would be ignored.
But if you're ranking those priorities, it would seem to me, particularly if you're aiming to achieve one of the fundamental objectives of the SHAC process, which is to inspire regulatory confidence, that you would want that ranking mechanism or model subjected to the most rigorous external peer review at the very outset of the process.
That's interesting. Imagine taking a first cut at, without even having a model. You're going to have some sort of list of what's important, but you're going to, how do I say, go after and try to track down all those issues, write them up, review them, then go back later and see whether you missed anything. It's sort of an iterative process. So that's sort of almost an informal, although they wrote it down, mechanism for their getting everybody's attention to the things that were really highly sensitive or most important. Not that the others were going to be tracked down too. I'm not sure that thing has as central a role in the overall study as you've concluded or implied. The thing that the reviewers have to review is to ask the question whether any issue there wasn't tracked down and pinned down as best they can. If one of them isn't, well, that'll be called attention to, and the study will be lacking if that's true.
But isn't it also Mr. Geesman's points to completeness, the issue of completeness?
That's right. Certainly the case.
Right. Shouldn't that be subject to peer review?
Yeah, explain what you mean.
Well, completeness is somebody put down a lot of things on the table, right? Whoever is doing that is missing something. Right? To me, the issue of completeness.
Excuse me, gentlemen. I got complete ignorance here. I lost you somewhere along the way. What exactly is the
Yeah, we're not going to be able to get these comments if we could just take it one at a time, because Dr. Peterson is on the teleconference. He can't hear what you say.
Can't hear.
And they need to be part of the committee's
So I can just back up and only take a sentence. In the course of this work to try to pin down our understanding, the communities, I say our, it's the community, it's not just the team, but the whole community, understanding of all the seismic sources around this site and how they could behave that would impact the seismicity at the site. The study team came up with a list of issues that they had to go track down, things that they didn't know as much about as they wanted to. And for each of those issues, they attempted to write down, it's called the tornado diagram, the importance of that issue to the overall ultimate hazard at the site. Some of them are quite important, and some of them, you know, they want to track them down, they're not really very important. Although until you track them down, you're not sure of that, so it's an iterative process. And so that's what that's about. Unless you had a concern that that list was incomplete, you shouldn't be concerned that the way those things are ranked in an interim way is going to govern or prevail in how the work is done. I didn't see that, at least. It would be inappropriate if some of the things that looked like they didn't matter very much weren't given sufficient attention to assure that's true. Because then you could fool yourself. Something you thought didn't matter, you go after it and find out it did. So if that was true, there'd be a problem. But to the extent that each of those issues is actually pursued as much as they need, why that ought to be sufficient. Okay.
Well, let me raise the second concern that...
Go ahead, because I understand your concern.
Let me raise a second concern, both stemming from the SHAC workshops and your report here today, and that is, since your last meeting, PG&E has made clear that it intends to submit what it calls its final seismic report to the Atomic Safety and Licensing Board on relicensing the plant this month. And yet the SHAC process, the 5054F process, is not anticipated to conclude until March of next year. That is hard for me to reconcile with the process that you've just described.
Yep, me too, and luckily, I don't care about that other process, not a bit. It doesn't go to the safety of the plant at all. It doesn't go to our remit. So I don't care about it.
Doesn't go to the safety of the plant?
The fact that they have submitted something is not an issue for me.
The fact that they are drawing conclusions to the point where they describe them as final?
Haven't seen it yet, and if they call it final, it isn't final, and we're going to see that report, and that's what's going to be final. I don't care what they do with the NRC. I'm trying to be as direct with you as I can be, John Geesman. You've been here before trying to get me and us to care what the NRC does. We watch what the NRC does. We're interested in what the NRC does. But that's not what we're here to do. We're here to understand the safety of the plant, and the safety of the plant is going to emerge from that final report, not from something that's less than final. If the NRC does something with that, we'll watch it. That's not what we do. And you're not going to get me to say anything about that process because I don't care about it. I'm watching it. Well, I'm trying to be as direct as I can be. I'm watching it. I don't care about it. You can care about it. The NRC can care about it, but I don't care about it. Except to watch it. If they make a claim there that isn't technical, somebody will find it, or maybe we'll find it. We'll see. That surprises me, that without arguing about what final means, because I know what the study team said, which is that their work isn't to be completed for many months. And even then, it's still got to go through another round of publication and review.
If I could just, with a non-technical bent here, we're on the subject of the fact-finding report. That's what the public comment is to be. We can't go too far outside those parameters.
No, I understand.
I just ask that we stay within that because we're going to have a motion soon, hopefully.
So just to complete what I think. For the committee, but we're all going to review it, but of course I'm the expert, we're going to watch how that thing comes out. And as we watch the process and the results and so on, we're going to review the hell out of it. Okay? And if it's satisfactory, we'll say so. If it isn't, we'll say so. And then we're going to reflect and opine about what that tells us about the safety of the plan. Okay? What that tells us about the safety of the plan. And the fact that they're doing something else over there, I'm not a licensing, that's not what I do.
I do have a different take from Dr. Butler's regarding
I know you do.
regarding Mr. Geesman's concern. I happen to have this opinion that Mr. Geesman's concern is well placed to the extent
Probably
to the extent Mr. Geesman on his own independently bring to this committee's attention then that perhaps there is some, if I may label it, concern on his part. I would not go as far as deficient, using the label. But Mr. Geesman is a concern about how this licensee, this facility, is interacting with a federal regulator.
Oh, I have that concern too.
Right.
I'm almost going to have to insist here that we come back to the agenda.
Yes,
if people were interested in this discussion, it should have been on our agenda.
Well,
we cannot go much farther.
But actually it is, because item number 11 or 12 here is the SHAC report.
It is, isn't it? Mr. Rahi's point is...
Or 11.
It's taken, okay. Now, let me be very, very brief. So, my take is Mr. Geesman's concern is well placed. I think it's worthy of further inquiry by the committee.
I just don't care.
Okay.
Thank you very much.